My name is a little odd. Most people just call me San, S-A-N.
Your son? Okay.
Yeah. So my question pertains to, you probably can't see it, but there's like a little whiteboard over there. It's basically saying all white people inherently racist. I think it's, sorry, I think it's really dumb. Sorry.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, as a fellow African American, what do you tell other people of the community or other races? How do you explain to them that not all white people are these devils or racist people, and that everybody can be? It's okay to have a little bit of animosity towards people, and it's okay to just air out these things and not just act on them, and just
Right.
not be crazy about it.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think that I wish that everybody would look at each person as an individual.
Yes.
In my faith, we all children of God, and everybody got their own life, man. Like you can't lump everybody in the same category, right? There's black people that I seen down the street that I didn't know they're gonna try to rob me in the car or not. Does that mean that every black person is like that? No. Does that mean every white person is a racist because one fool want to say something crazy? No, it's just common sense. Even siblings are not the same. Just because my brother do a certain thing don't mean I do the same thing. We're all different. Every single person is different. God made everybody different. Everybody got a different DNA. Everybody got different fingerprints. We're all different. So I would tell people, judge a person based on your interaction with that one person.
As you guys know, if you've been following my channel, I believe in this concept of your behaviors drives your outcome. I don't care the external factors. You can't control what happens to you. You can only control how you respond. And that means in every situation, everyone has the power to essentially affect outcomes in their life. And a lot of the times with this victim mentality, especially what black liberals like to push in this victim mentality, they love to push this idea that you are helpless because of your skin color, that you can do nothing about your skin color. And this is why they sit around complaining about racism, collective justice, and all this stuff. And it's so baffling to me that we now live in a society where nothing is anyone's fault, but at the same time, it's your fault. You are the problem for something that people who happen to look like you did. So if you're a white person, right? We live in a society where, oh no, nothing's ever your fault. Oh, it's the system's fault. It's the system's fault. In the same breath, oh yeah, because you're white, you get all these advantages, you get all this achievement, and I'm like, yo, where did we go wrong as a country where people are now trying to find something to blame? And this is why I say that I agree with Thomas Sowell on this point, that many of these black liberals use victimhood, use racism as an alibi. And to me, racism is the black liberals' religion. Like, if you dare say that racism can't stop you, that's blasphemy in a black liberal's eyes, right? Because this is what I believe. Racism can't stop me. Try it. Like, a racist can't stop me. For a 28-year-old, I'm pretty far ahead for people my age, right? And it's because of this ethos that I believe that no one can really stop me. Only I can stop me. And this is, to me, is more empowering than telling a black person that they can't do nothing because of their skin color, that the system's against them, and that the only way they can make change is to come around and be a victim together. I don't believe in that baloney. But as you saw from the intro, Brandon Tatum went out to Memphis with Turning Point USA, and he met a black liberal, and he's gonna like kind of go over some of the talking points that a lot of these black liberals like to bring to the table, and I'll react to it as usual. So let's take a look.
I'm Chris.
What's your name?
Chris.
Chris? Okay,
Yeah.
Chris.
I noticed you have the, unless I read wrong, you have the Make America Great Again.
Yeah, I do.
I want you to tell me exactly the point in history where America was great.
It's
As a
funny.
black man.
Point to me a time in history where America wasn't great. Tell me where
The
it
birth
started.
of America?
No, point in America where
country
America
was
wasn't
built
great.
on murder and thievery and deception. What do you mean?
Now let me explain this to you real quick. This is for everybody to listen to. Everybody always have this perception that we shouldn't acknowledge America as being great. America started at a certain point and grew and came better over time. No country that you know of was 100% perfect at the foundation. No country.
You
no
didn't answer my
country in the
question.
world.
He did. He did answer your question, and this is the like idea is that you only can judge America based on a concept of a perfect, like perfection. You can only judge America on perfection, right? This is what I notice a lot of people when you bring up the point that, hey, African countries started the same way. Tribes warring with other tribes. Tribes made the losing tribes slaves, then sold those losing tribes as slaves to other people in other countries. You forget Africans was in the center of the slave trade, but it seemed like black liberals seem to ignore everything that Africans had to do with the slave trade. Because without Africans selling y'all, white people would never have the opportunity to put slaves in America. But you don't look at the source of the problem. You just want to blame the people. You want to blame America because America is the only state with the richest nation between the African state countries. So you knew you can get something out of America. And this is why I say I find the reparation argument so disingenuous, is that if it was really about getting reparations and holding people accountable for putting black people in this position in the first place, then the source of the problem is Africa. It's Africa, the continent of Africa, the countries involved in Africa, because they're the ones who enslaved y'all. You lost a war, tribal war. They enslaved y'all, sold you for a bottle of wine, yet you don't hold any animosity towards Africans or people from African countries. Oh, you people sold us out. No, I don't do none of that. Instead, you want to come here, get mad at black conservatives because they see it differently than you do. And when you bring up this argument about how like no state, no country was perfect, every country did this. So why are you holding special animosity for America? And it shows the hypocrisy. Is that the only way you can find any blemish in America, how they started, is by comparing it to perfection. And another point I want to bring up as well is the idea that, oh, America was built by immigrants. No, it wasn't. It was built by settlers. Settlers come in, and remember, this land was untethered. There was nothing pre-existed here. Yeah, you have some Indian tribes. Yes, the people who were coming over here accidentally brought some disease, but they didn't know anything. Like, imagine I can make the same argument for these people coming over the border right now. How you know these people ain't gonna come over the border, bring a disease that wiped out all of all of the current Americans right now? That's essentially what happened. Untethered land, unsettled land. They knocked down trees. They worked on the land. They made food. They created the infrastructure. They did that. So you can't say that America is a nation of immigrants. That's not the case. Immigrants come to something that already pre-existed. There was nothing pre-existing here in America when the settlers came, and they made this land into what it is today. It's the same thing that happened in I forget some African country where there were white people that created infrastructure. They were rich, and during a revolution, the Africans kicked them out, and they took over all their stuff, and they lost all the wealth that was generated by the white community that came in Africa. Squander it. Because at the end of the day, you can take the stuff, and this is the argument that many black conservatives bring up, and I'm going to be done rambling here, is that even if you take all the stuff from the people, you don't have the human capital, you don't have the skills, you don't have the ability to actually maintain the things that were created because you never created them. And this is the argument that Brandon Tatum is going to try to put into this black liberal's head, is that, yo, you can't change your situation unless you gain the skills, you gain the education. How are you going to gain the education? Being curious. But instead, you want to bring up this mindset of, oh my God, woe is me, I'm a victim. When was America great? You want to waste your time complaining instead of using that same time that you're using to complain to find a solution. And I think that's the mindset that many black conservatives have, is that we rather raise strong children than to try to fix broken people. And whoever wants to hear the message, hears the message. Whoever wants to see our perspective, see our perspective. But if you want to stay broken, you want to stay a victim, stay a victim. I'm tired of trying to convince someone they're not a victim. What I will tell you is your personal decisions have more of an impact on your own life than racism ever will have in 2024. But I digress. Let's continue with the video.
No countries in Africa, no countries in Europe, you can name it. Everybody started at a certain point, and it became greater
you
over
didn't
time.
Answer my question.
Ever since you've been alive, America has been the greatest it's ever been.
You think so?
100%, brother. You can name somewhere else that's better than America. And why don't you live there?
I'm not sure.
I know you're not sure because they don't exist.
Were they?
Show me somewhere else that's as diverse as America. Anywhere.
As diverse?
That's as diverse.
What does diversity mean if
opportunities
people are being
for
discriminated
all
against?
people? Show me another country that give opportunities for all people like America.
Do you think we have the same opportunity as everybody else, as black people?
Yeah, 100%.
With a 200-year economic head start on us, and no.
I don't know how many times I have to debunk that point, but only 5% of so-called white America has any ties to slavery. Like I'm making an example, right? There's a lot of Irish people in this country. The fact that you're descended from Irish means you have no ties to slavery. Now, there was some Irish slave owners in Jamaica, I know Kamala Harris should know. She's a descendant of one of them. I'm just joking. I'm just saying. Barack should know. He's a descendant of one too. I'm just saying. Imagine that, right? But they don't bring this stuff up. And even if you had, and this is my main argument against reparations. Even if your ancestor had reparations, they would have squandered the wealth anyway. Like, generational wealth is not a thing for majority of Americans. Majority of Americans do not grow up in generational wealth. Majority of millionaires got their money through that, like, they created that. They're self-made millionaires. There's more self-made millionaires than people who became millionaires through generational wealth. But they want to keep pretending and perpetuating this false narrative, this false premise that, oh yeah, these people had a 200-year head start. No, a lot of white people are descended from white European immigrants. But here you are trying to make this catch-all excuse, this catch-all alibi. And when you realize that these people are using racism as an alibi, it's easy to see through a lot of the BS that they spew here on these debates or these back and forths or in these discussions. And this is why I kind of gain a low tolerance for this kind of talk. Because in the day, when they talk, they don't tell you something that they know. It's more of they're trying to convince you of a perception that they have about the current reality of things. And it gives them a kind of catch-all excuse for why they're at the bottom, why their community is at the bottom, because it's not flattering to say that the reason the black community is at the bottom of the totem pole, economically, educationally, is because of the decisions and actions that they choose as individuals within the group to do. And in the day, data does not prove a narrative. Data only proves the results, and the results are in. Black parents are not invested in education as other parents. This is why a lot of their kids fall behind. A lot of black kids are born into single mother households. Single moms have a higher propensity to be in poverty. But instead of blaming the behaviors, actions, and the decision makings of the previous generation that set up the current generation in the spot it's in, the previous generation wants an excuse for their failings as leaders in our community and say, oh, no, it's because of racism we're put in this situation. So that way the young generation like myself don't go back and blame the Gen X blacks for putting us in this position, for blaming the baby boomer blacks for putting us in this position, right? So they use racism as an excuse to redirect accountability to something external and not internal. And something that I realized from the Irish is that until you take hold of your own destiny, your own fate, until you take responsibility for yourself, you always will give power to other people. And this is what the victim mindset has kind of been instilled in the black community. And this is why the Democrats love to say that, oh, math is racism. Oh, math is racist. Oh, we shouldn't suspend kids because black kids display disruptive behavior that gets them kicked out of class more than other kids. Instead of owning up to it and say, hey, we need to correct the behavior of our black men. No, we want to change the rules surrounding the black men to allow them to be in school still. Because a lot of these black women, single moms, single parents, treat public school not as an educational institution that's going to empower their kids to gain the skills and gain the ability to be successful in the future. They treat public school as a daycare. And that's the reality. But I digress.
What's stopping you now? Aren't you at this university?
Yeah.
You at the university just like all these white people. Mm-hmm. How's that any different? Can't you?
I want you to go two blocks that way and tell me where they at.
You can read. You can go to class. Mm-hmm. You can make good grades. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping that you're making straight A's. Mm-hmm. How is America stopping you from doing that? And how is it stopping you from being prosperous enough to go down the street and make a difference in your own community? How is America stopping you from doing that?
Why is it my responsibility to make a difference in my community that was sabotaged?
You want to make a life? You want to make an impact in your life? You want to make an impact in your community? It is your responsibility. It's always going to be your responsibility. It's not the responsibility of other people. Like, this is what I like to think about. Imagine we're all just a team. The black team, white team, Hispanic team, Asian team. You, as a team, when you're competing against other teams, you don't expect the other team to do something in your best interest. And this is what black liberals have been conditioned to sit back and say, yeah, I don't have to invest in my education. I don't want to donate to historically black colleges. I believe the taxpayers should donate to historically black college. And the taxpayers are going, if you're a black butt, don't want to even donate to historically black colleges, why the hell you think the government should force our money to go into historically black colleges? Right? And this is what I'm talking about. It reminds me of the Deion Sanders situation. They complain about, oh, Deion Sanders went to a predominantly white college because they could pay him more. And my biggest thing was, hey, all these black athletes, all these black celebrities, They could have came together, called, I forgot what, Jackson State. Tell Jackson State, hey, we're going to donate each of us $10,000, right? And I don't know how many pro athletes there are, about 500 y'all, entertainers, about 1,000 y'all. If all y'all donated 10 grand, that would have been at least enough to match the offer that he got from Colorado State, University of Colorado. And he could have stayed. But this is what I'm talking about. Like, black people don't even want to pitch in to their own development. They don't even want to pitch in into their own communities. And they always think it's someone else's responsibility to fix the problems in their own community. And that's the difference between a black conservative and a black liberal. Black conservatives understand, like, it ain't no one else's responsibility but my own. Personal responsibility. And if I extend personal responsibility into a community level, it's the black community's responsibility to train themselves, to increase their own capital, to become valuable in society. It's not the job of another culture, of another race, to do what's in the best interest of another race. Like, make it make sense. Instead, as a black conservative, I say, hey, look, the Asians are one of the most successful racial groups in America. Let's see what they're doing. Let's see what they're playing. It's like playing basketball. You see someone doing a move, you like the move, you practice that move, and so you can do it. And I'm literally putting the same thing for Asians. Okay, look, Asians study almost half an hour a day more than other racial groups. Let's get our kids to study more often and increase their academic outcomes. No, we don't want to focus on we don't want to be solution driven. We just want to find problems to run on, excuses to run on to justify how we're feeling about the state of the country, the state of our situation, and blame it on someone else. And this is the reality of victimhood. It's merely used as an alibi to justify the helplessness of the black community, and to kind of remove themselves of personal responsibility for the outcomes that they contributed to in the outcomes of the black community. But I digress. Let's continue with the video.
From the start.
Let's go back to the foundation.
Do you think the CIA planted drugs in our communities?
They didn't make you sell it.
Do you think they?
No. I agree.
Do you think they burned down
stories of how
black
the CIA,
businesses? Do you know what Black Hollywood is?
Let's go one at a time. I've heard stories that the CIA planted drugs in the inner city communities. Not every black community, but in some. They still don't make you go and sell drugs to your brother, do they? Why are you not selling drugs right now? Because it doesn't make sense for you to do that. You have an opportunity to go to a university, get an education, and make yourself better and make your family better in the next few generations. Nobody's stopping us from doing that. I'm sitting on campus right now, and all these people are listening to me.
You know what's stopping
What's stopping me?
Money.
In America, what's stopping you from making money in America?
What the f is not stopping us from making money?
You
what
go
the
to the same university as
mean?
all these white people. How you got a different?
Exactly.
You said what? Excuse me?
We're in debt.
That's
our
your
fault. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, right?
Okay,
we were never given boots to begin with.
Let's start with this.
Crying, complaining, right? Oh, I was born 5'5". There's no way I couldn't fulfill my dreams to be a basketball player. And if you look through history, you see some basketball players that was actually able to do it. Isaiah Thomas, 5'4", right? Mosley, I think, the shortest player in the NBA, I think was like 4 something. Able to make it. All these excuses. Oh, I didn't grow up rich. Yeah, so did everyone else not grow up rich. 80% of Americans didn't grow up rich. But you want to focus on the 20% that did. And then you want to extrapolate what the 20% doing onto all other Americans. Make it make sense. That's like me extrapolating, oh, look at this criminal, and then associating with all black people. Make it make sense. Everyone struggles differently. And the fact that black people, black liberals specifically, are not open-minded enough to understand that everyone's struggle is different and that no one really had it easy. Everyone had obstacles that they had to overcome. And to minimize other people's experiences in a way minimizes your own. It doesn't bolster your own. And that's what they do. They try to minimize someone else so that they can make their struggle seem as big as, I face more struggle. No, you didn't. You didn't face more struggle than anyone else. You pretend to, you piggybacking off a struggle of people who actually went through something in the past. But if you compare your lived experience versus someone's lived experience in the 1960s, a black person's lived experience in the 1960s, they'll look at you and say, oh my God, I wish I had your life. How many people you would trade places with from the 1960s? I don't think so. You live in the least racist time in American history and you complain about racism the most. Make it make sense, black liberals. And this is why they don't get taken seriously by many non-Democrats. I digress. Let's continue.
I actually went and graduated from a university. So I'm not a guy that didn't go to college. I had a full scholarship, so I didn't pay for school in my undergrad. Graduate school, I paid for out of my pocket. I did not get a loan. I mean, I did not have to get loan forgiveness or nothing like that. I had $11,000 worth of debt and I paid it. How is that different than anybody else out here?
Because everybody doesn't have the same opportunity.
I'm black
Okay.
though. How?
No one's born with the same height. Like, this is the crazy part about this the discrimination. And I'm tired of the disparity argument. The disparity argument does not prove racism. Do you know there's stats out there that if you're if you're an only child or the firstborn, statistically, you're more likely to be more successful than the secondborn, thirdborn, fourthborn children? Did you know that stat existed out there? So should we discriminate against all firstborn? Oh my God, the medical profession is dominated by single only children and firstborns. We need to have some affirmative action for secondborn children. Everyone say how stupid that argument is, because the reality is, if kids coming from the same DNA, same mother, same father, socialized in the same environment can have disproportional outcomes like that, what makes you think that people with different skin color who come from different cultures will have the same outcome? Make it make sense. Name me a point in history where everyone had the same outcomes as everyone else. You can't name one, because inequality isn't inherently evil. Inequality is the norm. Inequality is the rule. Equality is the exception. Now, we can make exception the equality of outcome. We believe everyone should have a shot to try out, but not everyone has the ability or will have the ability to make the team. And this is what conservatives believe in. I believe your right to try out for a basketball team. But if you don't have the skills, you can't convince the coach that he should have you on his team, you don't make the team. That's it. But you can't get mad. Oh, the coach picked nothing but white players. And then I look at the team and it's like 5 Cooper flags. I'm like, yo, this is 6'8", small forward. He could play point guard. Of course, he's going to pick that whole white team. All of them 6'8". But you saw nothing but skin color. But you didn't see the other factors that contributed to that person making it on the team. Instead, you want to make it so simple. And the reality of the situation, and I'll be done with this video, is the reason why the victimhood narrative never worked on me is because I knew since young that success is not attributed only to one factor. Success is a multi-factored analysis. And the fact that people try to minimize people's achievements to their skin color shows how flawed their thinking is. And in reality, they're just trying to confirm a bias that they already have. And they're just looking for something to validate that conclusion. This is why they focus so much on racial justice. Oh my God, black men are half of prisons, but you commit half the crimes. If you can't do the time, don't do the crime, right? So if you're doing a crime, you have to pay the time. You have to suffer a consequence. But what liberal victimhood comes across is hey, give black people special treatment because as a racial group, we've been through something. You've never been through something personally. You haven't been through the same level of racism that you piggyback off. You want reparations for slavery, but you've never been a slave from people who never owned slaves. Hell, 95% of the people you claim benefited from generational wealth had nothing to do with slavery. But you want to chastise the entire white community for the sins of people, for sins of things they never even personally was involved in. Just like you don't want to be stereotyped as a criminal, thief. Why are you looking at white people as they're inherently racist? That's a racist statement to say. White people are inherently racist. That's a racist statement. You got no proof. You got no data to back it up. Nothing. All you got is disparities. And all disparities prove is the outcomes by communities. Because end of the day, black community, do you make the same decisions as other communities? The answer is no, you don't. You don't make the same decisions as other communities. The NBA is 78% black. The Asian community, they dominate Ivy League universities because y'all make different decisions. And because you make different decisions, you have different outcomes. But instead of focusing on the decisions, you want to focus on skin color because you don't want to hold yourself accountable for the actions and decisions you take. And this is the problem with the racial narrative victimhood. The victimhood Olympus is nothing more than a means to an end to justify entitlement. But I digress. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. I think Brandon Tatum did a good job. I'm sorry I didn't watch the whole video. If you want to watch the whole video, I'll leave the link to the description below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate you guys watching the end of the video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.